This episode of the Real ResQ podcast is brought to you by Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. And Life Saving Systems Corporation. We do our work so you can do yours. Tough gear for tough jobs. Breeze Eastern. They dedicate themselves to our helicopter rescue world. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November of 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and the unique mission requirements have changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, the operators, and those being rescued has not. Contact them today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. SR3 Rescue Concepts is a training company that can help with your helicopter training, a standardization and safety check, or maybe just an audit or an FAA refresher. They are here to bring your agency up to date with the most current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. The training staff is awesome. With the certified flight instructor pilots, experienced crew members, which I am happy to say that I am one of them, they offer training in rescue, medical, tactical, firefighting, ground operations, and night vision goggle use. SR3 is also partnered with Petzl to assist with personal protective equipment and the highly specific Lazard. SR3 also goes beyond the helicopter world as they provide high-angle rescue training and tactical medicine training. Contact them today at sr3rescueconcepts.com or over on Instagram at sr3_rescue. And Life Saving Systems Corporation. They manufacture the world's toughest helicopter rescue gear. From my favorite harness as a rescueman, the Triton harness, to the rescue baskets, the litters, and of course, the most popular hook in all helicopters, the D-Lock. The team at LSC will cut, bend, sew, weld, and machine these products into existence every day. We do our work so you can do yours. LSC. Tough gear for tough jobs. Check them out today at lifesavingsystems.com and follow them on Instagram at Rescue Gear. That's at ResQGEAR. We have some amazing stories come on this podcast. They have been a blast to listen to. One of the things we don't talk about too much is law enforcement. So this episode in particular, after we talk about a couple rescues, we get into some law enforcement stuff. And those stories are amazing. I absolutely love them. So I'm super stoked to have this guy come on. He is a pilot with the Riverside Sheriff's Department out of California. My friend, Mr. Mike Calhoun. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ podcast. Today, I've got a killer guest with me. His name is Mr. Mike Calhoun from Riverside, California, their sheriff's department down there. And he's flying the 145?
Yes.
All right. Flying the 145 down there in search and rescue, law enforcement, and he is going to give us some killer stories today. What's up, Mike? How are you?
Cool. Hey, doing great. Thanks, Jason. Great to meet you.
You too. Thanks for coming on, dude. This is going to be fun. I'm excited to hear some of these stories because
yeah, me too. Yeah.
Oh, you're excited to hear your own stories too? This is fun.
I'm excited to tell them. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. For everybody out there, can you introduce yourself, give a little background, a little history, maybe a good resume in case you're looking for a job? Just kidding, Riverside. He's not leaving. He's not leaving.
Yeah, I know. That's the joke. Like I'm 2 years away from retirement eligible, but yeah, I think I'm going to stick around a little bit. My name is Mike Calhoun, and I'm a deputy sheriff with Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and my current assignment is as the chief pilot in the aviation unit. I've been the chief pilot since January of 17. Been with the unit for 14 years. Been with the department in law enforcement for 20 years this year. And yeah, just been, currently my job is to organize, coordinate, execute, document the training of 7 other pilots that I supervise and train. And that's growing. We're going to adding 6 more pilots in the next 2 fiscal years.
Wow.
So
good for you guys. That's fantastic.
Yeah. We're growing. We're going to be adding 6 more. So I'm also the unit flight instructor. So I'll be getting those guys up to speed, getting their training coordinated, and I'll be sitting left seat with them, getting them up to speed, which is it's a pretty busy process too. We'll have a pilot. We'll send a pilot candidate to a local flight school, and then he'll come back with a commercial rotorcraft with instrument, and he'll come with me for about 60 hours. I'll fly with him for basic VFR stuff, offsite landings below 5,500, and basic patrol tactics for the law enforcement side. Nice. And then he'll get signed off, and he'll fly with a tactical flight officer, but he'll have a lot of restrictions until he hits about 2,500 hours. So in the meantime, I'll be flying with him and stage checking him and helping him through his next benchmarks, all the way through night vision goggle training to fly at night. And then after about 750 hours, he'll go to that. And then from there, it's the mountain flying, day and night, search and rescue, hoist and hover step training. So then formation flying, and then aerial use of force. And so at about 2,500 hours, he'll be fully signed off to be a fully qualified A-star pilot.
Nice.
So be a little bit busy in that. That's going to be great. I'm glad we're growing, and because our county it's 7,200 square miles.
And that's big.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize Riverside was that big.
Yeah. We're kind of shaped like a long rectangle, and our western area goes from just east of Los Angeles County. We border against Orange County, and we go all the way out to the Arizona state line.
Wow.
And so, yeah, to the north and south, we're bordered by San Bernardino County to the north, and then San Diego and Imperial County to the south.
Yeah.
And so we about 2.4 million people live in the county. Most of them are on the western portion, west of or just east of Mount San Jacinto, because we have Palm Springs. It's probably our most famous city in the county. So most people live in that Coachella Valley, Palm Springs, and then to the west. East of that is a lot of desert, a lot of Joshua Tree National Park, part of the Salton Sea. So
that's pretty awesome. So now for you, how did you get into search and rescue, like from the get-go?
Well, I always tell people that I wanted to be a pilot so bad that I became a cop in Southern California to do it.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That was what a lot of us go through in law enforcement to become pilots. So I wanted to do it in the military, and it just didn't pan out. So got out of the Marine Corps and got into college, and I went a different route, and I wanted to go to the medical field. I was going to be a paramedic or a PA. I wanted to be an emergency room PA. So I went to school for a long time, and became an EMT in the meantime. So I worked in an emergency room as an ER tech, and I wanted to. I thought I was about to go to nursing school, but after about 3 years of nights, I just got burned out on it, and I just felt that I still wanted to fly helicopters, and I'm not getting any younger. So I need to make a decision here, because I was 28, not getting any younger. So military was out of the question, and so. I talked to one of the nurses I was working with, and her husband was a cop, and she said, "You know what? You should be a cop. I could totally see you being a cop. You should do that." And so she talked to her husband, and she came back the next night and said, "Hey, he said that, there's a lot of law enforcement agencies that will put you through flight school, and you can fly helicopters for them. You just got to be a cop first." And so I thought about that, and I came back and did a little research on my own, and and said, hey, you know what, that sounds like something I could do. I can do that. And so applied with a bunch of agencies that had, medium to large aviation units, and looked at Riverside County Sheriff. They were the quickest to get me in to the academy.
Yeah.
Got hired by LAPD, but they were just kind of dragging their feet. But Riverside Sheriff got me a start date, hire date. So went through the academy, and went through. That was during 9/11. That's right when 9/11 happened. That was a crazy time.
Yeah.
So I knew exactly where I was, what I was doing when all of our instructors were huddling around a radio in the truck and listening to what was going on. So I graduated, started working in the jail, like we all do, and then got assigned out to patrol. And then, so when I was on patrol, in 2005, I got my private rotorcraft on my own. So I went on my days off and got that taken care of, because I wanted to fly. I wanted to do it. And but it turns out that that's a requirement that our department has. If they select you to become a pilot, you have to have a private fixed wing or rotorcraft already.
Oh, wow.
So it turned out, but you got to come up with that on the front end, and then the department will invest a ton of money on the back end for you, getting your commercial rotorcraft and your instrument, and then all the other subsequent annual training that goes along with it. So it was great in the interview for a tactical flight officer. That memo came out, and so I applied for it. I got selected and worked as a TFO for 3 years. And I think
tactical flight officer.
Yeah. So that's basically, he's the real cop in the cockpit, talking to it is definitely the hardest side of the aircraft to work. It's you're task saturated, you're making decisions on the fly, you're acting like a dispatcher, you're tactically diagnosing everything that's going on below you while you're at least 500 feet or more or less above the ground in an enclosed environment with a lot of noise and a lot of stress. And so it takes a special person to be able to fight through that and make those decisions effectively, and to be a good flight officer.
Wow. Now, while you were a flight officer, did you also get trained as a hoist operator or rescue specialist as well? Or
I did, yeah. And that's initially what we've been doing. We've been hoisting for 20 years, and we fly H-125 A-Stars. And for a while, that was it's our primary law enforcement platform. Yep. But we do still train for rescues in it as a backup to the 145. So when I went through, after you were done with your initial 4-month training syllabus for tactical flight officer day and night, then you were signed off for patrol to be assigned to a pilot. And then after that, you'd start your specialty training, and that was search and rescue mostly. So we're trained as a hoist operator. You stand out on the skid there, and then how to do hover steps, so forth. So we did a lot of search and rescue with the A-Stars.
Yeah. So I'm curious as to a little bit more of that, because that's actually pretty cool that you are a hoist operator and a pilot and the flight officer sitting up front left doing the radio stuff. So you guys get trained in every position in the back of or in the helicopter specifically. That's pretty awesome. Yeah,
we when we were flying the A-Stars, when I was on patrol, then we would essentially you would just fly as a pilot. And once you left the TFO role, and then you're basically just a pilot then. And so you wouldn't really stay current or proficient on the hoist. That would we'd give all that time to the TFOs so they can stay proficient and whatnot. And but in the 145, we all trained in every role. So the pilots were trained as hoist operators and catchers as well.
As a catcher, what's that? Define a catcher.
It's like a SAR tech or rescue technician that stays in the bird and just receives the person.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It was fun. It's interesting going from that. I was we're going from a role where we're searching for people that are doing everything they can to not be found, and now on the search and rescue side, we're going to calls where everybody is doing everything they can to be found.
Yeah.
So And a lot of times that was in the same shift. You know, it was great. You know, you'd fly the same platform, and it's like you can put a bad guy in jail and then help get a family off the mountain in the same day sometimes.
Wow.
And
oh, that's pretty awesome.
it is. It's a quick, we would have to, reconfigure the helicopter and on the A-Star, just land and, put the hoist out, TFO then, puts on his harness, daisy chain, anchor points. And then we would have two rescue volunteers that we would call them out. And they were a great group of people, like Riverside Mountain Rescue Unit.
Yeah.
And Desert Sheriff Search and Rescue. There were just a bunch of great folks that they come out, and they were helicast trained with us. We would train them twice a year, daytime, nighttime, to go down the hoist and come up the hoist and package up a victim. And so we'd utilize them a lot for that role. And not so much anymore, because now we're a kind of a fully autonomous unit. When we launch out with a crew of 5. So we have a pilot, co-pilot, a crew chief working the hoist, and then we have 2 SAR technicians that'll go down. And
that's in the back of the 145, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say that's jam packed in an A-Star. Who are you leaving behind?
Yeah, the A-Star. Yeah, the A-Star is great because we have some really diverse geography. We have Mount San Jacinto that has a state park up there, and the peak is 10,834 feet. So we do a lot of our business at about the 9,000, 8,000 foot level.
Wow.
So, the A-Star would do it. It was just, we would be, 35 gallons, depending on the temperature, that we were hoisting someone out at 10,000 feet. And then it's just the pilot, the hoist operator, and then the victim.
Yeah.
And then we would, if it was a hiking group, then it was, we'd hoist the one victim up, and we'd fly down to the LZ, drop them off, put in 10 gallons of gas, go back up to the spot, kind of lather, rinse, repeat. But we had to stay very light.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
I know. And a lot of people, say, especially from the twin engine world, say that's crazy but it's a single engine helicopter, but that's all we were allowed to have at the time. And so we mitigated that with, constant training, selecting a platform that is proven and reliable in the A-Star. It's very capable.
Yeah.
So it's much nicer and much more comfortable doing those same operations, though, with the 145 now, though, for sure.
Well, heck yeah. I mean, you got a little more power, and it's just the fact you can put 5 guys versus like the basically 2 or 3. Man, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, just like, just 2 days ago, we rescued 5 teenagers from a mountain ridge, and we put them all in the hill. Yeah.
Do tell.
So we get a call. It's very, very hot in Southern California in our county right now. So up at there's a trail called the Pacific Crest Trail that runs from Mexico to Canada.
Nice.
So there's a section of it out in our county. It's near Garner Valley, and this ridge line they were hiking on, it's like 7,500 feet. So they were at the base of a valley nearby. They were part of a hiking group of like a little summer camp. So they're like, hey, let's go hiking up to the PCT. And so from their base camp, it was probably 2 miles just to get to the base of the mountain. And then there's these very, very vertical switchbacks because the side is very steep. And so they get up to the PCT. Well, it was 90 degrees at 7,500 feet still. And essentially this ridge line, you look to the east, you can see Palm Springs and the Coachella Valley, and you look to the west, and it's all the western Riverside County. On a clear day, you could see the Pacific Ocean from about that altitude.
Wow.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was still 90 degrees up there. So one of the kids was a 12-year-old female. She was having signs of heat exhaustion and kind of tapping out. So we get the call, and we fly up, we find them. And so we find them over on this ridgeline, and thankfully they're right next to this big open offsite landing, this little pinnacle landing. So we just put the bird down, and we have the rescue techs go out and assess them. And they were huddling under this big manzanita bush, getting some shade, and so they all had these big packs and everything, but no water in them. And so they were all dehydrated, and one of them was So we just made the decision, okay, we had the performance capability. Let's take all 5 of them. We left the 2 SAR techs behind. And so we loaded all 5 of them up, secured them to the back, and we flew them to our nearby mountain station, which was about less than a 5-minute flight away. So we just landed, offloaded them, got them all off the mountain. And in an A-Star, that would have been probably 4 different trips, maybe 5. But that's one thing that it's just so much better now. We can get everybody off the mountain at once, and it's just limits our exposure over the position, and gets us all done quicker. And yeah, so they got off, and one of them got seen by the paramedics, and so they were on their way home happy. And
so that's awesome. So, like, in such a easy kind of, not easy, I don't ever want to use that word because everything in SAR is difficult. We just make it look easy. Yeah. But that kind of benign case, you're like, oh, I got a couple people up, we're going to land, load them up and go. And for us, it's a 10-minute flight there, 5-minute flight to drop them off, go get the guys, they go back. All right, refuel, clean up, let's roll.
Yeah. It was similar to, we had a case about probably a month and a half ago out in the desert. It was this really pretty area to go hiking called Painted Canyon. A lot of folks go out there, and it's it's really hot out there. It's 120 in the summer.
Ooh, and that's so Fahrenheit, by the way.
Yeah, Fahrenheit. So it gets really hot. So you get people that they go hiking, and we rescued a family of 5 there. Again, it was similar. We were able to offsite land, and but there were 3 kids in there, and the youngest was about 2.5, and they were out of water for a while. So we were able to land off site. Crew went down, hiked down to them, got the adults, got the kids, and we were able to fly them all off right there, and get them to our nearby station, airport, and get them all home. And especially a little 2.5-year-old girl that was out in 90+ degree weather that would have taken ground crews probably an hour and a half where they were to get to them.
Yeah.
And then that's why I love the helicopter the SAR operation. It's just like Sikorsky said, we can save lives. We save lives quicker and more efficient, more effectively, and than having to hike and so forth. And
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, and I haven't even asked you about your first SAR case yet, which I'm going to get into in a second. But you bring up an interesting point, and that is, there are some people that don't even think about this, but the amount of time that it took you. So those 2 cases specifically, like you get to the helicopter, you launch out, you get on scene, you're there, 10, 20, let's go 20 minutes to get on scene. That's a longer flight. You land, load everybody up, 5 minutes, 10 minutes to a landing zone to get everybody safe, paramedic to medical help. And then you go back 15, 20 minutes back to base, shut down, refuel, and chill out.
Yeah.
You guys took the helicopter and let's say 5 crew members for the 145.
Yeah.
For guys that have to hike in hours, like 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hours, and you're talking a full 10 people plus equipment, and then triage, and then another hour plus hike back out. It's an entire day lost with an entire crew that could be out doing something else that is more beneficial to them. And just the amount of money and time it saves is ridiculous. It's awesome.
It is. Yeah, it is such a, we keep calling it's a game changer for us. We can, get back in service a lot quicker with this new platform. And it's just, it's been awesome for us. It's been awesome for all the people in Riverside County. And we've definitely seen an uptick in our rescues this time of year. It's weird. I think it's because of COVID. Last year I think a lot of people just realized, man, we had a lot of our freedoms suspended for a while, and we need to get out and take advantage of that and get out and see this country, go out and hiking. And because it's been insane for us. We put this bird in service March 25th of this year, and we've saved 56 people in those 100 and something days since then.
Wow.
And over about 36 or 37 missions. It's been that we're all kind of sitting like, this seems a little bit busier than usual, and not just our usual. We have a time period from about early April to maybe late May of the PCT hikers that are coming through, and And so we get a lot of business in that time frame for guys get injured or lost. And but yeah, it just seems like more than normal recently. And as a matter of fact, just the other day, I think the day before or 2 days before we rescued those kids, we were assigned to go talk to like the national CBS media out in Palm Springs. They wanted to talk to a SAR crew and get some advice for the folks about hiking and get some do's and don'ts, because it's been 110, 120 degrees in that valley in Palm Springs, and people were rescuing people that are overheated and so forth. So we were like, okay, so we're going to go talk to them. But as we're going to go talk to them, we get a lost hiker call, and it was right there in Palm Springs. And so we get overhead, and this guy is in this, he goes hiking by himself. He's only wearing shorts and no shirt, totally sunburnt. And we get overhead. Yeah. And he's in this. I don't
mean to laugh, but that's like.
Yeah, I know. There's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's in this spot where he hiked down to this, it looks like it's a waterfall when it's like the monsoon season, and they get kind of flooding in there when it's in the monsoon. And he like just hiked down just below the crest of the waterfall on this ledge. And he definitely couldn't go down any farther, but he couldn't get back up that like 10 or 15 feet. So, we hoisted him off of there, and we landed at the LZ nearby in the city. And, that camera crew was there from CBS. So we watched it later, and, they were saying, hey, we were supposed to talk to these guys and get some tips about hiking in the desert, when they actually got a lost hiker, overheated hiker call. And so it was hopefully the point was taken by the folks that, hey, this is, because they kind of highlighted a guy that had passed away the week before.
Oh, wow.
He was just lounging at a pool at a hotel there, and he died of heat stroke.
Wow.
And yeah, it was 118 or something that day. And so I'm glad the message was getting out to, hey, we hiking's awesome and it's great, but you just got to be prudent and just, because there's times when we say no, there's no to weather, no to, maybe the crew experience isn't there. And, we don't go, we can't go, we have to send the ground teams. And so,
yeah,
hopefully folks get that too, that just, we're here to help you and we're here to save you if you get in a pinch, but just kind of exercise some good judgment.
Hydrate or die.
Yeah. We've seen, actually we were, Airbus Media was at our hangar for a couple of days, and they were filming this video that's, they wanted to highlight and showcase our 145, and it's going to be played, I guess, later this month at the Airborne Public Safety Association conference.
Oh, great.
So, and as we were starting to get up, we get this lost hiker call on the PCT, but further south from where we rescued those kids. And this lady, she didn't make it. She was, her hiking buddy panicked and she found a nearby house. It's a very rural section just north of San Diego County. And it was well over almost 100 degrees at 9 a.m. This was first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So our SAR tech got down to her, and he pronounced her right there. It was pretty obvious. And so yeah, we packaged her up in the Stokes and flew her back, and the coroner met us at the hangar. But it was kind of like, wow, it happens, and unfortunately, the sad side of the job. And
right,
people out doing stuff that they love to do, and they're out hiking, and it's great. And just especially this time of year, you gotta just exercise some prudence and hydrate properly, or just wait for another day.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, man, that's crazy.
Yeah, but my first search and rescue case, it was kind of boring. Just got signed off for. I was authorized, like we all are, for daytime hoist rescues below 5,500 feet MSL. And so we had this section in the Ortega Mountains. It's kind of a mountain ridge that divides Riverside and Orange counties, very popular mountain biking and hiking.
Okay.
And these two young girls, or three young girls, they went hiking, they got off trail, and they were up on this pinnacle of a mountain. And it was kind of just a simple hover step. It wasn't even a hoist. So I just hover stepped in another tactical flight officer, and we did a hover step operation where just put one skid over the area, and the TFO, he briefed him up on how we're going to do it. So, and in that case, the TFO, he's anchored into the side of the aircraft, just like in a hoist, but he'll assist the victims in getting in the doorway with the TFO on the ground. Make sure he kind of like acts as a like a shuttler to get them on the aircraft. And
Yeah.
we got them on board and landed at the nearby LZ, and that was it.
Pretty cut and dry, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's all right. So let me ask you this then, is because I remember, my first case, and a lot of guys that I talked to that remember their first case, was your adrenaline pumping, like, holy cow, this is my first call.
Yeah. We it was different. We do a lot of before we get signed off, we do a lot of like live body, stuff, and that's one of our final exams, is you're hoisting one of us up in the aircraft and hover stepping us and making sure we're all good, so you get that feel of that's what a live body is. But then it was, I'm on my own this time, and I'm the aircraft commander, and want to make sure I make the right call, get in the right position, and yeah. But my first as a TFO, my first hoist case were actually body parts.
Oh gosh, that's not fun.
Yeah, it was an aircraft crash. They were scud running, and they just clipped the top of a mountain, and 4 perished. And so the ground teams went in. They removed the remains, and the remains of all 4 occupants fit in probably like a 40-liter duffel bag. And so it was biohazard bag, and hoisted that into the aircraft, into the A-Star, and then our pilot, it was chief pilot at the time, he's like, all right, you ready for you want to do your first one? I'm like, yeah. So I hoisted one of the search and rescue volunteers out. So he was my actual, technically, first case. I had body parts and then a live person right after that. Yeah.
Wow. You know what? I don't know if there's many people that could say that. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was interesting, and but I was nervous too, because you're as the TFO, you're verbally flying the aircraft for the pilot, because it's indirect vertical reference. So you got to be good. The pilot has to trust you. You have to be very competent. And so I'm pretty nervous, making sure, I'm getting that aircraft, getting that hoist, plumb center over the load, and so that I don't induce a swing, and so getting it over, and our pilot was awesome, man. He was like 15,000 hour combat Marine pilot. And
wow.
So it was up to me to get him. And so if there was any swing induced, it was my fault. So everything went okay. And
that's awesome.
It's
that's pretty badass, man.
Yeah.
Gosh. And I'm sorry, hoisted body parts, that's not badass, but
yeah,
I mean, just to have that experience and what you guys do is pretty cool. But
yeah,
actually so you and I talked a little bit offline a little bit, because your whole county does some really like incredible stuff. And you had mentioned something that there was a case that was in a book out of Joshua Tree. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, in June of 2018, there was a young lady named Claire Nelson, really cool gal. She was a travel blogger, I believe, and she was house sitting up in Joshua Tree National Park. I think she's a New Zealand national. So she was up, house sitting for some friends of hers that I think were from England originally. So they went back to England, and Claire goes and watches the house. And so she plans on about a 4 to 6 hour hike by herself. And so she's hiking Joshua Tree, and so it's June, it's a little warm. And so she's out, got her hiking sticks and a little, enough, food for a day, and her water. And she's going along, everything's going great. And she comes to a section of the trail where it's kind of a cliff drop off. It's very rocky. And she's like, okay, I'm just going to shimmy down this boulder and get down there. And so I guess it was higher than she had estimated, and she slipped near the top, and it was actually, roughly 20, 25 feet.
Ooh.
And she slipped and she shattered her pelvis. She landed on her back. Yeah. So she laid in that, she could not move. She immediately knew when she tried to move that something was wrong with her hip. She had excruciating pain. So that began a 4-day ordeal where she laid in that position in the desert of Joshua Tree. She began to start a video diary with what was left in her phone, battery wise. And yeah, she laid there. She had to get very creative with, she was wearing shorts and I think a tank top, and so she had some sunscreen, and so she had to get very creative with her hiking pole, or she would, imagine laying on your back and the only thing you can really move are your arms, and you kind of, even to lift your head up to look at your feet, it was painful. She couldn't do it. So
Oh my gosh.
she put sunscreen like on the end of her pole, and then she would like shimmy her pole down to her shins and kind of feel like she was covering her legs, and then she'd cover her arms, and then I guess she had a sandwich and a little this little like white shopping bag is what saved her life later on. But I guess some little animal like jacked her for her little sandwich or something, and she talked
no.
afterward, and she was like, "No, oh, how could you?" So so she started recycling her urine, and that's what really extended, I think, her life as well. She just had like one little Nalgene bottle, maybe like a 1 liter, and so recycled her urine. And so we get so her friends back in England, they didn't hear from her on her blog, and that was very unusual for her. She usually posts something every day, but that day she didn't post anything. So they, called her and pinged her and didn't hear anything. So they called the house, called her cell phone, nothing. And so they thought that was really unusual, and that was good on them for really knowing their friend.
Yeah.
That they were that concerned to immediately say, hey, they called the Rangers, the Joshua Tree National Park Rangers, said, hey, we have a friend and we think she's overdue. We haven't heard from her. So they got the vehicle description, and sure enough, her car was still there at the trailhead. So they're like, okay, that's been 2 days. And so that's when they launched. I think we got launched on the 4th day. And so we go out there, and so the air crew, they launched out, and they did a really bang up job. And Manny Romero and Eric Basha, they got overhead, and they were searching, and they're making PA announcements, and we have her name, and so we're telling her, hey, Claire, we're looking for you, help us find you, try to signal us, we're looking for you, and just kind of saying that, repeating it.
Yeah. Which is super smart, by the way. The guys down in Florida were doing something similar to that, and I was like, God, that's brilliant. Just, you guys have a PA, announce it. Yeah. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they get overhead, and so there's a funny side story. There's so many, I'm sure you do too. You have so many funny things that happen in the cockpit while you're looking for somebody, or especially like when we're doing our law enforcement stuff, we see some pretty funny stuff from our vantage point. But
very much so.
Yes. So this is one of those instances that was a bit of levity for Claire at the end. And so they're searching, and they see these two women kind of nearby or on a trail, and they're hiking, and up ahead on the trail around the turn out of line of sight of the women was some kind of animal that they were both looking at. So one of them says, oh man, there's a coyote up ahead of them. We should probably warn these women on the PA. So the other one says, no, that's not a coyote. So then begins this argument of what type of animal it was in the cockpit. It's a coyote. No, it's not, dude. It's not. I think it's a like a bobcat or something, or no, it's a coyote. Well, so one of them, we have this on the floor. We have a push to talk button for the PA and for the radio, and you just step on this button, and it broadcasts whatever you're saying. So he's on the PA channel, and so he says to the pilot, hey, it's not a effing coyote. And so he uses the full word. And so the pilot says, hey, dude, you put that out on the PA. He goes, no, I didn't. He goes, dude, I heard it, man. I felt you feel the speaker vibrate. He goes, dude, you put that on the PA down there to those women. He's like, no, I didn't. So they're warning him, hey, there's a coyote, use caution. And hey, also we're looking for this hiker, 30-something-year-old female named Claire. If you've seen anyone like that, can you, wave your arms at us, kind of thing. So we didn't get any arm waves. So like, all right, well, they must not have come across her or seen her. So, so in that meantime, they're flying around and they're about to go bingo fuel and go back to thermal and refuel. So I think Eric says, hey, why don't we fly down this canyon? It's on the way back. We found this one guy here, remember a couple years ago, and he kind of got funneled into this terrain. And all right, yeah, cool. So they hit that area. And as they're right about to start, one of them, I forget who it was, one of them says, hey man, what's that? And so down below, they see something white and it's moving. And so, oh yeah, it's definitely something moving around. What is that? It's white. It's kind of, doesn't match the terrain. And so they get overhead and on the binos and, so TFO says, hey, there's a female laying on her back and she has a hiking pole with a white trash bag on the end of it. And it looks like she's waving to us.
Wow.
So we're like, okay, that's gotta be our victim, or yeah, who else is it going to be? Right. Or some other unreported lost hiker. So they get overhead. And so they, because they were low fuel, they decided, okay, we're going to land here. They had water and stuff. And so they landed and they hiked down to her, and sure enough, yeah, it was her. And so they were like, oh my gosh, she was so grateful and thankful. She's like, I can't move my hip. I think my hip's broken. Okay. So then they call California Highway Patrol. They have an A-Star out there in the Coachella Valley, and they're great partners for us. Really, really good group, always helping out. And so they're a hoist operation too. So they get there, we call CHP and say, hey, can you help us hoist? We found the victim in Joshua Tree, help us hoist her out. So they get there and so in the meantime, they're kind of waiting, as they're waiting for CHP, they're talking and Manny and Eric are just like, blown away, like, how have you survived all these 4 days in this position in the sun? And so she's going through everything she did. And she talks about it in depth in her book. I think it's called Things I Learned from Falling. And,
wow. Okay. I'll look that up.
Yeah. Things I Learned from Falling by Claire Nelson. So, Eric, I remember Eric, he had an apple and he gave her an apple and she's like, that's the greatest apple I ever had in my life. So they started.
That's awesome.
Yes. So they got some water in her and they're sitting there waiting, they're talking. And so she's like talking about her ordeal and what she did and how she survived. And she's like, she said there, she goes, I was resigning to the fact that tonight was going to be my last night alive. She's like, I feel it. I'm just, the dehydration. And she says, I started hallucinating, man. I've been hallucinating all day. I've been like hearing things and I'm like these weird memories from my childhood or whatever. And then, I hear these voices. I started hearing voices and I heard someone yelling at me, hey, it's not an effing coyote. And I'm like, what is that coming from? Saying that to me. And so immediately,
oh, gosh.
Manny and Eric point to each other or whatever and said, see, I told you put it out. See, I told you. Claire's like, what are you talking about? So one of them's like, you weren't hallucinating. That was him. He put it out on the PA. I was right. And there was this coyote nearby and we were warning these women. And so Claire's like, oh, wow.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So and she put that in the book and talked about that. So they CHP came and they hoisted her out and she had a pretty lengthy rehab at the hospital and she was back to hiking and doing great. And it was really cool because we got to meet her at an awards ceremony for our department that next year. And it was really, really cool, that we don't ever really get to meet the people we rescue afterward.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
so rare.
Take them away. It is very rare. And so it was great. She made it and she's back to doing what she does and still out hiking and doing still blogging about travel stuff and it was great. Good.
What a great story.
Yeah, those are the ones that I remember personally. The ones that I've been personally involved in are the ones that we find after a long time. They've been missing for a long time. And there's I think two that kind of stand out for me that I was flying on. One of them was probably about 4 years ago. There was two guys went hiking in this south of Palm Springs area. And so they're hiking along and one of them He's a 60 something year old male, but he's in really great shape still. He's still like a marathoner at the time.
Nice.
So they're hiking, but he slips down a pretty steep portion of like the decomposed granite, and he slides several, 20 plus feet into like this manzanita brush.
Ooh.
And he kind of gets stuck there. He's all scraped up and hurting. So his partner, hiking buddy's like, okay, well, let me call 911. And he's like, yeah, I can't move, man. I'm hurting. So, but he doesn't have any cell reception. So he starts hiking down and down and down and down, and he doesn't get any bars until he's essentially at the base of the valley. And so that's when he's able to call 911. So they start launching the SAR crews, the ground teams, and then us. We started that first night, a look in, nothing. And then I was working nights at the time. So the next morning, day crew, they start just shuttling a whole bunch of rescue volunteers up above them on the ridgeline, offsite land. And they just kind of trickle down and start a search grid pattern. And so first day, nothing. Second night, my partner and I go fly, and we're looking and looking. We're utilizing the searchlight, our night vision goggles, and the infrared camera, kind of all in combination.
Yeah.
So we're, looking for that heat anomaly, and thankfully it was the winter time, so it wasn't very hot for the guy. So we were looking. That second night we don't see anything, and then the third day they do the same thing, launch a bunch of crews up there searching, nothing. And then that third night they had determined that, okay, we're going to call this, and it's going to change to a recovery mission. We didn't think he would be able to survive in the elements, so they called us out for one last night search. And so we get overhead doing the same thing, and so the terrain up there in the flora it's like all kind of manzanita brush. It's all like kind of like the same height. It all looks the same. So we're just kind of scanning with the FLIR, scanning with the night sun. Hopefully we use the spotlight that sometimes they have reflective properties of their clothing. And
right.
And with the night vision goggles too, it'll help. So we're there about 15 minutes or so, and we're scanning this ridgeline on the FLIR. And then there's something that on the infrared camera that is a little bit taller than the surrounding terrain, but it's a lot hotter. So we both were like, ooh, wait, what's that? So we scan back, zoom in. I'm like, man, that's pretty hot. So we switch over to the color camera with the night sun. And sure enough, man, it's a guy in a red jacket, gray hair. And he's kind of like on his knees, and he has his arms up. He's like waving to us.
Wow.
And so I'm like, okay, this is okay. So it's kind of like, hey, you think this is our guy? Yeah, or it's probably some other unreported lost hiker. This has got to be our guy. So we get overhead, put it in a hover, and so we get on the PA and said, hey, are you, I remember his name was Roger. Are you Roger? Wave your arms. And because his clothing matched, his description matched. So he was like, yes, like waving his arms frantically. So we told him, okay, hold tight. We got to come back and reconfigure, and we're going to hoist you out of there. You're going to be fine. We'll be back in about 15 minutes. So he's like, he's good to go. So we get back on the radio. Now the command post, they had already broken down and they were driving away, and they told the family, this is, most likely going to be a recovery mission. So that was really cool for us to say, hey, we found him, positive ID. This is him. He's alive. I need 2 hoist qualified rescuers to meet us back at the LZ. We're going to reconfigure and brief it up. And so we landed there. And so they were, are you sure? The family's right here. And like, absolutely. Yes. This is him.
Oh, that is awesome.
They were so happy. And so we landed, we hoisted him out. And then he did a little recovery in the hospital, and local news media was there interviewing him, and kind of got to meet his daughter kind of peripherally. I think it was on Facebook. We put it on our page, and the daughter, she posted a reply saying, that was my dad. Thank you so much. And so
that is so
replied,
cool.
like, hey, we were glad to do it, happy. And she was like, hey, he would love to meet you guys sometime. And it never really panned out, but we're just happy. She was so very appreciative and thankful. And it was awesome that, everything worked great. That crew was Palm Springs Mounted Police. They're another crew that we work with for search and rescue and hoisting, and all those volunteers, man, that just were hiking that mountain, just answering the call.
Yeah.
They got jobs and stuff they have to go to, and, they were able to do that for other people, on a voluntary basis. And so it was
for days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
can't believe he survived. That's awesome. That's
yeah.
incredible.
And so one of the search teams on that second day, I think, they reported that they found some mountain lion tracks that were, I guess a mountain lion was kind of tracking him, because he actually moved from the original spot. He was actually able to climb out of that scrum and get back up to the ridge line. And he was kind of moving around, but he was fairly injured. So it was a slow move. And so they were like, yeah, some mountain lion was tracking him. So probably just waiting for him to get weak or something. And so, yeah.
Ooh-wee.
That was good.
Wow. That's, that also puts into a major account of all the equipment that we put on the aircraft to help us do our job to search for people. Your FLIR, your Night Sun, your NVGs. Like,
yeah,
I can't speak highly enough about all of that equipment and how well it works. So
yeah,
kudos to all the companies that make all that too. Like,
yeah,
that's awesome.
NVGs are so vital to our operation that, you know, we don't fly unless we have them at night.
Yeah,
so
me too.
They're a valuable tool. Yeah, we have a lot of really dark portions of our county. You know, this desert area and stuff. There's a section that we transit. We're going from the west side to the east side through south of Mount San Jacinto. That is just, it's like if your goggles quit, it's technically IFR. It's pitch black. You have no moon and there's no cultural lighting out there, and so it's pretty dark. So yeah, the NVGs are absolutely invaluable to what we do.
Dude, that's a great story. I like that one too, man.
Yeah. Well, there's another one that really stands out for me too. Was about 5 years ago, another case in the city of Idlewild. It's a mountain town just below Mount San Jacinto. We had a guy, 60-something-year-old guy. He survived 7 days in the same spot.
Oh my gosh.
On the mountain.
What?
Yeah, this guy was, I was thinking afterward, man, he must have been one of those just bulletproof, like Vietnam vet Green Beret guy that just can't die. You know, just like, you know, like how they say he's got like old man strength, you know, but this guy, he survived on a can of green beans and 1 bottle of water. I'm not even kidding you. That's what he lived on.
7 days.
7 days in the same spot. And the way the way that call came out was interesting, because he's got this, I guess he has this tweaker buddy of his that they decide they're going to go hiking and they're going to go like prospecting for, I don't know, gold or something.
Yeah.
And so they kind of get separated. And so the victim, he goes down this one section and he said he fell and he said he hurt his knee pretty bad. He can't move. And so his buddy is up on the high ground and he's like, okay, well, I can't see you, but I'm gonna go get help. So 7 days later, he is sitting in a bar in Idlewild. And so one of our rescue volunteers that lives up there, he was at this same bar, and he's overhearing this conversation. It goes something like this. Me and so-and-so were up on the South Ridge and prospecting, but man, he got hurt. And I tried to get help, but nothing ever happened. And so the search and rescue volunteer, Lee, he's hearing this. He's thinking, that was 7 days ago. He didn't hear from his buddy. And so he's talking about it and he kind of moves on. And then so Lee kind of sounds like he interjected there and he goes, hey, I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. You say you had a friend that was injured on South Ridge and 7 days ago and you don't know how he is? Yeah, man. He's I don't know. I haven't heard from him. Have you called him? Well, oh yeah. No, I haven't heard from him. And so
what a good friend.
He's like, yeah, exactly, man. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I think you need a new friend there, brother.
Yeah. So Lee goes, you know, your friend's probably still up there, man. He might be dead by now. So Lee calls 911 and that's what gets the SAR going. And so and in the meantime, CHP, Highway Patrol, over from Thermal, they hear the call too. And there's a pilot over there named Jen. She's super motivated, always helps us. And at the time, she was flying the fixed wing. I think she's moved on to A-Stars now, but she was flying the fixed wing. She gets the call and she's like, hey, I'm going to go help. So I am not kidding you, Jason. She gets overhead and she's 3,000 feet above the last known location. Yeah. Flying a Cessna. So she's at 9,000 MSL. It's about the 6,000 foot level. So she's flying a Cessna, looking through binoculars, and she finds the guy from
What?
3,000 feet. I know.
Go Jen. Boom.
She did. She killed it. So, and she's like, the guy's alive. He's like moving around. And I'm thinking, how did she spot this guy? You know, she's fighting the mountain, flying a Cessna on binoculars, and it's just legendary status. So she GPS's his spot, and we go up and we got the spot, so we're gonna go and hoist him out. And I'm flying, and my partner, you know, we get into the spot, and we get overhead into the hover, and I'm at about 60, 70 feet up off the ground, and I'm looking through my chin bubble, and so hoist operator's like, yeah, he's right there. And I'm looking through the chin bubble at 60, 70 feet, and I can't see the guy because he's wearing like a green sweatshirt and black pants.
Oh yeah,
in the green
blend
train.
right in. Yep.
Yeah, until like what caught my eye was, I guess he had some kind of like, I think he wrapped his shirt or something around his knee. It looked like an ace wrap, and it started flapping in the downwash. And that's what caught my attention. I'm like, oh, there he is. Sure enough, man. So we hoist him out. He goes to the hospital, and apparently they discharged him that night, man.
What?
I'm telling you, this guy was like some kind of Iron Man, indestructible guy. So yeah, he got home safe, and but that was just an amazing, you know, good teamwork there. You know, that we have good partners in the area that you know are motivated, love to help out, and that was just still to this day, I can't believe she found the guy from 3,000 feet on binoculars.
Go Jen! Shout out to Jen. Good job, girl.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, the stories are sick.
Yeah, dude, there was just more. I mean, there's the one case that I had where I actually got to meet a guy I rescued a couple years ago, and I never get to do that, man. And he was I was at the Miramar Air Show, and down in San Diego, and we had a static display down there. So I flew the helicopter down, and we were, you know, letting the kids see it and everything all day. And then at the end of the day, everybody's filing out toward the exit. So, you know, none of us can leave till everybody's gone. So I'm just kind of hanging out, waiting for everybody to leave. And I hear this lady, she says, Riverside County Sheriff's Department. Hey, honey, I wonder if this is the helicopter that saved you. And so I looked over. It was a man and his wife and their like teenage daughter. And so he gets closer to me. He goes, yeah, man, you guys saved my life, man. I was like, I don't know if it was actually me or this helicopter, but he goes, well, as soon as he said April 4th, Apache Peak, I said, that was absolutely me. I remember that. And so they're really, I said, yeah, I was the pilot on that. And I remember that because that was a tough rescue, man, because the winds were about at my comfort level. And so we were able to hoist in a rescue tech and get him. He slipped on an ice patch on the PCT, and he broke his ankle pretty good.
Ooh.
So that happened at about 6 a.m. And I remember the weather that day was just crappy. It was just low ceiling. We couldn't launch. They called us like right after that, and we said, sorry, we can't. We have the weather. And so they had like where they were, the cloud ceiling was like 100 feet. So it was like, well, there's no way we're getting in there. So he was with his son. And so dispatch told him, hey, the helicopter can't get you because of the weather, and the ground teams are going to take about 7 to 8 hours to get to you. So the son just starts, his dad's telling me this at the air show afterward, like, yeah, my son started breaking down crying because he didn't think I was going to live for 7 to 8 hours. He didn't think I was going to make it. So the ground teams start, and then at about 2 o'clock, the weather broke finally. So we launched, we get up there, and even then it was still like the clouds were flirting with closing up over the peak, and then open up a little bit. And so we determined, all right, the winds and the clouds are stable enough to let's get the rescuer into them at least. And if we have to break for weather, at least they can hike him out, stabilize his leg. And so we get him in there. We hoisted him out, flew him to the state Hemet Mountain Station, and then got his son out of there and the other rescuers. So they were real happy. And so he was telling me this story at the helicopter. And, you know, his wife starts crying. Yeah, his wife starts crying. She's all, "Thank you so much. You saved him." And his daughter's like, "Thank you. You saved me." And so we talked about his rehab, and he had a pretty gnarly break with it, but he said he's good to go. Then he was able to walk around the air show all day, and he was cool. But yeah, we took a picture. It was really neat, man. I never get to see, you know, someone see the after effect hey, we helped save this guy and got him home to his family. So it was pretty rewarding, pretty cool.
Wow. Just wow. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Another great story. I can't get enough of these. I tell you, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's we've been pretty busy. We've had a pretty busy search and rescue program in our county.
The greatest part about it is actually, again, you and I talked offline. You know way more than just search and rescue. That's kind of my bread and butter. It's just what I've been doing for the past 20 years. But the law enforcement side, because you guys have that as well, being police department, and you have some pretty some good stories from LE side too.
Yeah, the most recent one that I wasn't involved with it, but was another good crew guys, Jerry Osterloh and Eric Bashta. They were flying patrol at night in an area called is Lake Elsinore in our county, and there was a call of a highway patrol officer. He asked for 1111, which is code 3 lights and siren backup. He was on a traffic stop on Interstate 15, and so they were near. I think they had just flown past Indian Truck Trail in the 15. Like, hey, we just passed that guy. We didn't see him, so he put out 1111. So hey, turn around. So they turn around, and they're just seconds out. So they put out that they're overhead with the officer. And so Jerry's on the FLIR, and he's looking at the traffic stop. And just as he starts to look, he sees the driver open fire onto the CHP officer with some kind of rifle.
No way.
So the chippy is he ducked for cover. He had a concrete K-rail next to him that he dove behind that and got cover. And it turns out this guy had an AK-47, and he was just stepping out into the number 3 lane, kind of just pieing the car. And thankfully, he mistakenly thought the officer went back into his car. And so he just emptied a full 30-round mag into the car and goes to reload, reassesses. I think he started firing again. Then he sees the helicopter overhead. And so he starts cranking rounds at the helicopter. And so he disengages. He gets into the back seat of the quad cab of the truck, but then the truck takes off. So we're like, okay, there must be another occupant. So it turns out it was his girlfriend. He made her drive down on the freeway, but they had their 2 children in the back of the truck with them, and they were kind of toddler aged.
Gosh.
So they put out 1199 officer down. They're actively engaging the officer with a rifle. There were some of our deputies that were nearby. They started responding. So this guy, he gets on the southbound 15. And so apparently he must have opened up the back windows, and there's like a tonneau cover over the back of the truck. It's like a hard cover that covers the top of the bed.
Yeah.
So he must have just laid down on that, and he just starts firing at the deputies and the officers that were responding on the freeway. It's like a rolling gun battle on the freeway. And so Jerry's putting out, hey, he's shooting from the vehicle, back off, maintain distance. And so he's still shooting. And then so he gets off at an exit, probably about 4 miles to the south. And so we're rolling, everyone's rolling. And thankfully a big portion of our SWAT team was nearby. They had just finished up some training. And so they're responding, they're coming, and everyone else is rolling out. So he exits, he gets into a neighborhood that turns out to be her parents' house. So he just, jams it up on the grass and the front lawn, and he gets out with his rifle and he starts aiming down the street, and he's ready to set up on officers that are ready to come down the road there that he expects to be right behind him. So what saved so many lives, I think, was the tactical flight officer. Jerry's putting out all this information. He's out on the front lawn. He's got a rifle. Do not turn the corner. Do not turn the corner. Seek hard cover right there down the street. So they listened. They parked up and sought cover. He cranking rounds down that direction. Some deputies start returning fire, but then there was kind of a confusion of which house he was over. So they made the determination he started firing at them at the helicopter again from the front yard.
Oh my
so
gosh.
Thankfully he never hit them. So they turned off their spotlight. They blacked out, And then Riverside Police Department, they responded. They heard the call. They responded overhead pretty quick in their 500. I was airborne too with another crew. We were south, probably like 15 minutes away. So the pilot, he's communicating to me right away. Hey, this is what we got. Hey, you guys fly back to Hemet, top off. We need to get a shooter in the back seat in case this guy goes like in a rural area, whatever. He's trying to kill cops. And so my partner and I, we did that. We flew back, we topped off, and then we just kind of loitered off station about 1.5 miles to the west while this was all going down.
Yeah.
Just ready in case if the guy did go in some rural area and we were able to just apply aerial use of force. So thankfully we didn't have to do that. But in the meantime, the guy is he's going he goes inside the house, comes back out, he goes out to the backyard, and he's just looking for a gunfight. He's looking for targets to engage, and the whole time the air crew is putting these actions out, saying, okay, he's on the side of the house now, okay, he's at the back of the house now. And so that, he's kind of cueing the ground guys that were in the front, like, hey, you guys can bound up on some hard cover. He's in the backyard now, close the distance on this guy. So in that meantime, there was the first SWAT deputy that showed up. He had the hard armor. So he said, hey, I need one more deputy to, stack up behind me, and we're gonna engage this guy. So another patrol deputy had an AR-15. He's like, hey, I'll go. So they both stacked up and they were closing the distance on this guy. Well, in the meantime, he goes inside the house, and I guess he was looking to murder her family, her mom and dad. And so thankfully, the dad was a retired Marine Sergeant Major, and he pre-planned for this event. He knew that this day may come because of the previous actions of this guy.
Wow.
So he grabbed his wife, and they just boned out in the backyard to a neighbor's house. They had their little egress plan, and so they got out. And so, but he went in the house and he was shooting up every closet. He was shooting under every bed.
What?
Any place that he thought a person can secrete themselves, he started shooting and shooting and shooting. So he comes back out, and about the time he came back out is when that first SWAT deputy and his partner were within sight of him. They saw him and told him to drop the weapon. He didn't. So they neutralized him right there in the kind of by the front yard, and ended the whole thing. So it was interesting too, because of, I guess, his plan, we found out later on, was he was going to kidnap the kids and take them back to Lebanon, where he was from. And he was going to kill the whole family, kill her. So they, I guess, the FBI heard about all this, and because of his name, I guess they kind of piqued their curiosity. And so they rolled back that night to I guess he owned a liquor store in a neighboring county. So they served a search warrant on the liquor store, and they found a huge cache of weapons, ammunition, AK-47s, and all that. So yeah, they saved a lot of people's lives that night by putting out the actions overhead. And that is the whole bread and butter of the law enforcement side of airborne law enforcement. Is our job is to make the ground patrol deputies and officers, their jobs safer, number one, and to do their job more efficiently and more effectively. And
Wow.
So they definitely kept them safe that night by calling out their real-time play-by-play actions of the shooter. And which, if they weren't overhead, they would have come just rolling down that street, just fat, dumb, and happy, and could have lost some people that night. So
wow,
did an awesome bang up job. They were very calm, very calm professionals on the radio, and just saved lives that night. Real proud of them. Did a great job. But that's what stuff like that kind of happens, I think, a lot throughout the country, and throughout the world.
Right.
Law enforcement units, that's why we're such a valuable force multiplier overhead. We try to let people know, the folks know, that in our county, like, hey, I know we're a big budget eater, and we're very expensive, but this is what we're doing. This is the value you're getting for this, for these machines and these people that fly. That's what we try to have, a very robust social media presence. Like every rescue we do, we put it up there and try to show people.
That's great.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's an expensive helicopter. We get it, but here's what we're doing with it, and it's saving people's lives and getting people home, and and the folks are happy for it. And yeah, we all love doing it. We all love doing our job. It really is the greatest job in the world, man. We all come to work every day and just, man, I love flying. I love this job. And
you and me both, brother.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You get to rescue somebody, and same thing, flying out to an oil rig or something, or what you did in the Coast Guard. I mean, that's all those folks are very thankful and happy, right?
Yeah. Well, at least I think so.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, these stories are awesome. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Do you have one more LE story? Just one? I'll take one more.
Yeah, there's the other one that happened, 2006, I think. The crew, they responded to, it was nearby Temecula. It was I think it was a stolen car. A patrol deputy got behind. Pursuit was on. The guy didn't stop. The car kind of crashes out. And so then he runs across the freeway. He carjacks another person, gets in their car, gets back on the freeway northbound. And then he gets off. He exits about 25 miles north, goes into this rural area. So the deputies are pursuing, but he's got kind of a lead on him. So the air crew's overhead. And so the suspect sees them overhead and he starts shooting at him. Well, this time he did actually hit the helicopter in this case.
No
they were
way.
Overhead. Yeah, they heard a tink in the aircraft, and as they were watching him shoot on the FLIR. And so they heard it, they felt it, and immediately start assessing, okay, are we okay? Are we okay? Everything seemed okay. Caution warning panel was not lit up. So they did a precautionary landing, and a TFO got out. He inspected the helicopter, didn't see anything leaking, didn't smell anything, said, hey, we're good to go. So they got back in the fight, and they chose to keep this guy lit up on the spotlight and to make themselves a target, so that the responding deputies that were coming, they were coming up it was a dirt road. And so the guys were, he was set up to ambush the deputies that were going to come over there was the last portion of the driveway. It looked like that was kind of a hill, and like you couldn't see cars coming from it, like beyond it, until they crested that hill. Yeah. And this guy was set up to ambush them. So what he had done in the meantime, though, he was at a nearby mobile home, and he shot his way into the house, and he shot the door lock, and this round missed an infant sleeping in her crib by just a couple feet.
Holy smoke!
Yeah, so they actually charged him with attempt murder on the child too afterward. And so he tries to look for keys in the house to try to get in their vehicle, but he realizes, okay, I'm going to make my stand here. So he sets up, and so the air crew is overhead. They're seeing all this, and they're telling him, hey, do not crest that hill. He's setting up to ambush you. So they took some hard cover at the end, and so they set up an assault team to close the distance on him. And so they were, same thing, calling out the play, calling out the whole thing, and they were able to. I guess the guy got inside a car. He was about to leave, and then one of the deputies just jumped on the hood and just lit him up through the windshield. And of course, just like tweaker law, he empties probably half his mag into this guy through the windshield. And because of ballistics and the way the 5.56 round behaves through windshields, of course, he's aiming center mass, but none of the rounds hit the guy's center mass. He gets all these like arm injuries. Yeah. So he gives up, surrenders, and as he goes into custody, and he's spending a long time in prison. But it was another great. Kurt Franklin was the pilot. Chad Marlatt was the flight officer at the time, and they got hit and they landed, got back in the fight, and chose to keep their spotlight on to make them. It was making themselves an even easier target, but they wanted to keep the ground lit to watch his actions and to light it up for the responding deputies too, so they can also kind of see, because it was extremely dark out there. It's just middle of kind of this kind of trailer park area and mountainous kind of. So another great crew. What they did was awesome.
Wow.
So
I love these stories.
It was interesting. They flew back to the hangar, and they inspected the aircraft further, and the mechanics found a hole where they did hit the helicopter. It was in in one of the skid tubes. So
no kidding. Oh, that's...
yeah, they had to pull that skid tube off and book it into evidence. and get another skid tube replacement. And
roll the whole skid through court. This is our evidence piece number 5.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's
Dang, Mike, these stories are awesome.
Yeah, we love it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I've taken a ton of your time, and I appreciate every story you're giving me. Well, let's close out a little bit with just, if there's anything you want to pass on to anybody, or any of the closing statements you'd like to make, the floor is open to you, my friend.
Yeah. Well, we're just real thankful. We're thankful to our sheriff, Chad Bianco, that he got us this new helicopter, and really thankful to him and his leadership. He really believes in our mission, and he's gotten us the aircraft, and now he's getting us the bodies, the people to grow the unit as well, and that only benefits the people of Riverside County more. And so just really thankful for that. And I would just say, guys out there, just keep, if you can, train with other units, host, like fly-ins and train together.
Definitely.
We kind of stopped doing that because of COVID. We host a fly-in every year of, basically we invite all of Southern California to come to our hangar and listen to a guest speaker, talk about aviation related safety stuff. And great. It's, if you guys, we get back to doing that, it's great. I think we pass on knowledge. We share knowledge, in this whole endeavor. When we were looking for this helicopter, I went up to Las Vegas Metro PD and wanted to go on a fact-finding mission, because they were the first law enforcement agency to have the 145. And so I reached out and I met a guy, Steve Morris. He's a great guy. He was very helpful. Still talk to him this day about stuff, and comparing notes about our airframes. And so I went up there, took pictures, asked him. I wanted to make sure that we're making the right decision with this helicopter, and he was very gracious, still, like, just helping us out, talking to him. I asked him, is there anything you regret about this helicopter? And he said, absolutely not, man. It works as advertised. And, we have very similar geography and terrain, altitude wise, and desert. And he said it's performing beautifully. So, I took a bunch of pictures and stuff, and he helped us through our acquisition process and the build out with Airbus, and just, great group, man. Great operation up there. They helped us out the other day. We had to fly up there to, there was a kidnapping suspect that our fugitive task force, through the methods that they use, were able to determine that he was in Las Vegas with his kid, I guess, and it was a legit kidnapping. And so we needed to fly some detectives up there. And so so we put him in the 145. We got up there. I guess Steve met him out on the tarmac and helped him out and got him in and let us use their hangar to get out of the heat. And it was really cool. So that guy got apprehended and taken to jail, and they found him. And so it was great, man. Just, just work with each other, interagency stuff, just train together, work with each other, it only benefits the, the people that we're helping, and each other too. If we can, get home quicker, it's great.
Yeah. Mike, these stories are awesome. Great advice. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this stuff. I'm smiles ear to ear right now. This is awesome. I love it.
Yeah. No worries. My pleasure.
Dude. And with that, I mean, I'm good, man. I'm good. So thank you.
Man. Yeah, man. It's good to meet you. Good to talk to you, man. Yeah. Thanks for doing what you do too, man. Stay safe out there, and look forward to talking to you again. Yeah,
and we'll the next time I get out to California, I'll give you a call.
Yeah, absolutely, man. If you ever make it out here, just hit me up, man. You got a place to stay for sure.
Done. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again, buddy. I appreciate it. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute and, like my daughters like to tell me, like and subscribe. Oh yeah. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story that they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you as a guest. Or if you have any questions about any of the rescues or anything else that we talk about here on this podcast, send me an email. therealresq@gmail.com. That's TheRealResQ@gmail.com. You can also check us out on our Facebook and Instagram page at the Real ResQ. That's at TheRealResQ. I also want to give a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember that when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.